Bishop and the Council Roundup,
where each and every week we bring you the latest happenings in the Springfield City Council meeting. Last night was a committee of the whole, which is where they review ordinances that are up for first consideration before being put on either the consent agenda, where it's not controversial, versus being put on the debate agenda, where they do sometimes go into lengthy debate about issues. Last night's meeting really was, the recording's only an hour or so. 20 minutes of that is actually from an executive session. We don't hear that because, of course, they go behind closed doors to discuss pending and probable litigation. But last night they did hear a lot of important stuff for you taxpayers out there. Number one, to know about some rail relocation efforts that are going on. And then number two, to know about how your dollars are doing. So good stuff to see here whenever it comes to unpacking all that happens at the Springfield City Council meeting. So again, today we're reviewing the committee of the whole that happened last night. Next week, programming note, no council meeting on Tuesday night. Next week's the election, which is wild. We are, less than a week away from the municipal consolidated elections, so we could know if Mayor Jim Langfelder is going to have a third term or if he's going to be unseated by mayoral candidate Springfield Treasurer Misty Buscher. A lot of you have been listening to all of the different commercials that there are. They continue to go back and forth, so you'll hear those again for another, 6 days or so before we get to Tuesday's election next week. But no meeting Tuesday night with the Springfield City Council. They are instead going to meet on Wednesday, so we'll actually bring you the Council Roundup Thursday morning here with Springfield's Morning News. So just a little bit of an understanding there of what the program schedule is really going to be like. But let's go ahead and hear now from the treasurer with the treasurer's reports yesterday at the Springfield City Council meeting. Misty Buscher is the treasurer, and she lays out how much money the city has.
The corporate fund in the month of February had a beginning balance of $64,164,513. We took in total receipts of $17,701,131. We had total disbursements of $11,433,370, which left the corporate fund with an ending balance of $70,432,274. Of that corporate fund ending balance, chair purchase, your ARPA fund balance included in that is $22,151,813. This concludes my report, chair purchase.
So again, $70+ million cash on hand. 22 million of that is federal tax dollars that were spent during the COVID-19 pandemic, still sitting in city coffers. So we'll see ultimately what happens with all of that. But then they had a presentation last night from Hanson Professionals where they were there to talk about engineering that's being done all throughout downtown Springfield. And if you're watching along, you'll actually see some of the graphics that they put up to kind of explain some of the rail relocation. So here is Hanson Professionals.
All right, I'm Mike Mendenhall with Hanson. I'm the project manager for the Springfield Rail Improvements Project. Was going to give everybody a quick update on the overall project and then discuss the closures at Madison and Jefferson Street starting April 5th.
So if you go to the Springfield City Clerk's website, just search, springfieldcityclerk.com, and you'll be able to find it. Click on government, go to archived meetings, make sure you select the committee of the whole, and then the date for 3/28, which was last night. And there you can actually see the rail relocation handout that Hanson provided. So we have that pulled up here, and we'll kind of scroll this through as we hear Mike Mendenhall talk about some of the projects.
The overall goal of the project is shifting the 3rd Street corridor over in parallel to the 10th Street corridor as shown on the blue map. The overall stemming aspect of this is the train volume is going to increase drastically from 2010 to 2030 from 35 to 81 trains a day. As part of the project, currently the city of Springfield has 68 at-grade rail crossings. That's where both trains and vehicles are at the same location. It's going to reduce that number down to 32, so essentially cut it in more than half. Build 8 new underpasses, redo 4 existing bridges, and then construct 1 new overpass. The project itself, shown on the map here, there is 5 of the 6 segments complete or under construction to date. The segments shown in green are complete. The segments shown in red are currently under construction. And then the furthest north segment near the North Grand area is the last remaining segment. The overall project is $475 million, and currently about 3/4 of the funding has been obtained for the project.
So, Mendenhall continues. He shares more details about some of the things that are already completed from this.
3 underpasses have been completed, the Carpenter Street, Ash Street, and Laurel Street underpass, and then the bridges at both 5th and 6th Street have been reconstructed. Currently, there's track being constructed over the bridges at Cook and South Grand Street. Once that track is complete, then the existing Norfolk Southern track will be removed, and then the existing bridges at both Cook and South Grand can be removed.
And Mendenhall continuing to offer even more information about what to expect, especially next week.
Starting April 5th, the Madison and Jefferson Street between 9th and 11th Street is going to be closed. 9th and 11th Street will remain open, but that portion of Madison and Jefferson between those two streets will be closed to facilitate the construction of new underpasses for both of those streets. The detour route for that utilizes 9th Street, Carpenter Street, and 11th Street. And again, that's going to start on April 5th, so next week. The duration of that construction is anticipated, and closure is anticipated to take 14 months.
14 months. It's a lot of time. It's going to be a lot of disruption. And again, if you're following along, you can see some of the outlines here of what to expect when it comes to the detour that are going to be happening with the road closure starting April 5th. I do use this stretch every day, so I'm going to actually have to find a totally different route, which is fine. I'll find that route. Shouldn't be a problem. But obviously, there's going to be some disruptions, and we will hear even more about those disruptions coming up from last night's Springfield City Council meeting, where Hanson professionals, engineers helping with rail relocation, talking about all the projects they've got lined up and how it's going to be disrupting some of downtown traffic. So we'll get to more of that coming up here with Springfield's Morning News. Back with the Council Roundup, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Don't forget about delivery. And hey, they're also open for lunch on Saturdays as well. Head West Subs. So we've been hearing from Mike Mendenhall. He is with Hanson Professionals talking about the rail relocation efforts and what exactly is going on there with the different projects and just how much they're going to be impacting people. Of course, he talked about how some of the Madison and Jefferson Street areas with underpass construction going on. It's going to make some of those areas inaccessible, so there's going to be detours. All of this starting up April 5th as they continue with their rail relocation efforts. But more disruptions, as Mendenhall announced last night.
As far as closures go for the overall project this year, Monroe Street is already closed. That is going to reopen as a pedestrian-only crossing later this year. Already spoke about Madison and Jefferson. That'll close April the 5th and last 14 months. Ooh. There will be closures required at Cook and South Grand to remove the existing bridges. Those will not occur at the same time. They will be at separate times and will last 10 days. And then there will also be a closure of Washington Street to construct a new rail crossing there for 6 months starting June 1st.
So, again, just some of the disruptions that are expected. He goes on to talk really kind of like, hey, this is finally, here's my closing of at least what I have to present.
The last piece of the project is up toward the north part of town. This includes a new underpass at North Grand Avenue, which is going to look very similar to the picture here, which is of Ash Street. That is going to go to a construction letting November of this year, and anticipated the construction would start shortly after that in 2024, being completed by the end of 25. In addition to that, there will be an overpass, and that is going to be going over the Norfolk Southern and Illinois Midland tracks near Robin Roberts Stadium as well. That's part of the same project.
So, again, just getting an idea of all of the different projects that are going to be done here. He also shared that there will be an opportunity for people to delve deeper and to answer some of the questions they may have when it comes to what's next.
For more information, please attend the public open house from 4 to 7 p.m. Thursday night. We'll have a more detailed overview of the current project, where it's at, including the closures at Madison and Jefferson Street Transportation Center, and then the redevelopment of the 3rd Street corridor once the tracks are able to shift over to the new 10th Street corridor.
So it's Mike Mendenhall with Hanson Professionals Engineers for the rail relocation efforts, just to give you an idea of some of the things they got going on. We'll hear some of the questions and answers from Alder people about projects they expect and more about the timelines and what's not necessarily going to be impacted by this. So we'll get to more of that coming up here. From last night's Springfield City Council meeting, the Committee of the Whole getting this presentation from Hanson Professionals. So we'll finish that up coming up next here on WMAY. Brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch and also open for lunch on Saturdays as well. Don't forget about delivery. Head West Sub. We've been hearing some of last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole and some of the conversation about disruptions that are going to be happening in downtown Springfield as the city continues to make way for rail consolidation for the various railroads that come through Springfield. And you're going to see a lot more activity, a lot more construction for a lot more months. We're talking construction that's going to be disrupting some of the traffic in downtown Springfield. So some of the questions that are raised about what are next here. Here's some of the conversation from last night's City Council Committee of the Whole. And I believe the question was raised about one of the programs that they've got at Hanson Professionals that really focuses on minority recruitment. And here is Mike Mendenhall talking about that last night at the Committee of the Whole.
For more information, please attend the public open house from 4 to 7 p.m. Thursday night. We'll have
Here he is. He says, finally, this minority recruitment program with Hanson's, it's celebrating 10 years.
It's been very successful. It engages minority students in high school and gets them interested into engineering. And this weekend, we're actually taking 40 students over to the University of Illinois at Champaign for them to tour the campus and attend the engineering open house. The goal of that is for the students to go into engineering and then want to come back to the Springfield area and work.
So it's an interesting, motive to keep engineers in Springfield because you know that Springfield, it's the biggest little city around, right? I mean, we've got tons of operations that need some good engineering and city planners and the like. So good to see that program moving forward and advancing. But last night also, you had questions for Mike Mendenhall from Hanson Professionals about the projects. State rep just promoted him. Alderman Roy Williams Jr. asking about just how long this is all going to take with the completion dates 14 months away.
Yes, still on track to end at 2025. Yes.
And do we have a beginning date or time frame for the 19th Street portion?
So for 19th Street, we have been in discussions with both the Illinois Commerce Commission and IDOT. And with 19th Street, there is that line feeds basically rail cars that goes down to the power plant at Kincaid. That power plant is anticipated to close here sometime in 25, 26 or so in that area, and that will greatly reduce, if not eliminate, train traffic on that corridor. So currently IDOT and the ICC is in a holding process to see how much traffic would actually remain on that corridor before anything is done further.
It's actually pretty fascinating that the train tracks there have apparently been primarily used to get coal to the Kincaid power plant, which is slated for closure a few years down the line. So the 19th tracks, there's still uncertainty around there. We'll be watching that closely. And surely, if we're still doing the roundup whenever they announce some kind of 19th Street consolidation, construction, and the disruption that's going to bring, we'll watch that. Alderman Hanauer, he had a question about that minority recruitment program.
If a high school student wants to get involved in that, how do they go about doing that?
So we reach out to all the public schools here in the District 186 area, as well as some others, and reach out to a lot of their guidance counselors and others, and present this to them. They can go to their high school and then become a part of this. Yes.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's about 40 students that are going over there, so we've got a pretty good amount.
Right, thank you.
Alderman Redpath has questions for Mendenhall about the 19th Street
That
tracks.
goes over I-72 when it gets south of town, is that correct?
That I-55 and 72, yes.
So
at
that
part
means
of
it
town.
also goes over the Hazel Dell road there. That's an underpass that's been outdated for a long time. Is that something that's going to be considered in that project?
So, no, that underpass is not a part of that project. The 19th Street project would be new underpasses at South Grand and Ash Street. That is a part of the 19th Street work.
But it's not going to extend down past the south side of the town? Okay, thank you.
Alderman Gregory also had some concerns about some of these walkways that are deteriorating and how he hopes that gets addressed at some point.
Those underpasses, like the one Alderman Redpath, they're in need of repair, and from a city standpoint, I'm sure we'll put together some plans to do that. But the passing, the rail itself, it definitely needs some work, and the things attached to it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alderwoman Purchase also has some questions about what to expect here moving forward, as we heard that there's going to be an open house to really look at the options that there are and how this is moving forward. Is that open house coming up this week the only open house there is? Here's Alderwoman Purchase.
So I know that we have the public open house this Thursday, March 30th from 4 to 7, but will that be the only public conversation? Will it be some follow-up since the project is so long?
Yeah, there will be additional public open houses throughout the remaining portion of the project. Yes.
Gotcha.
So expect a lot more information about this so that the public can be fully up to date as to what's going on with the rail relocation efforts and the ongoing, disruptions it is surely going to cause at downtown Springfield, where a lot of the rail relocation's happening. All right, next up, they had an ordinance that was up for consideration about a new type of updated police simulator. Here's an official from the police department talking about the new updates.
It is a firearm simulator where they are equipped with a simulated firearm. They go into a scenario, have to make a decision about whether or not to use it, reaction, all of that. They can communicate with the scenario situation, talk to the people there, and then the simulation either evolves to a situation where they need to make a decision on whether to shoot, or if they are using proper de-escalation, it can go the other way and they choose not to shoot.
So you've seen these. I've actually taken part in one. They had something similar out at the Illinois State Fair several years ago, and allow people to kind of experience that to a degree. This is an update from what's already available. So interesting to hear more about that. But a question raised about, is this really kind of, the alderman didn't say this, but is it like Duck Hunt, right? You got a video screen and then you got a fake gun with a laser on it. And the police officer said it's a little bit further detailed than that.
There's a lot more to it. Yeah. It goes much deeper into that, into response times and that, if a gun is displayed in the video, how quick is the officer able to get their weapon out? Are they able to respond? It shoots at you. Those type of things. So it's pretty advanced, and this is just an upgrade onto the system that we already currently are using.
So just an upgrade. Hearing more from last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole, where they're dealing with ordinances that are up for consideration. And this is where they, in the Committee of the Whole, they determine if an ordinance is going to go on consent agenda, where they lump a whole bunch together and they vote on them all at once, omnibus, or if it's going to be a controversial piece of legislation, where they then will put it on a debate agenda and then have that further debated upon final passage at the city council meeting. Here is another ordinance up for consideration.
Relating to disclosures required of all city officials and those candidates for elected city office.
Move to debate.
Second. All right, so further requiring certain types of disclosures of candidates for city office. Interesting to hear the debate about that, but we won't hear the debate about that before the election closes, because here we are 6 days until the election for City Hall. We won't actually hear the debate around that until Wednesday after the election next week, and we'll hear more about the schedule coming up. But next up, Alderwoman Purchase, who chaired the Committee of the Whole last night, she talks about an event that's coming up this weekend, downtown Springfield.
This weekend, we are encouraging everyone to come out and cheer on. Last year, we had a little over 1,200 participants in that Abe Half Marathon race that will be taking place starting at 7:30 on Saturday morning. So please come outside and just cheer everyone on. I told them, come on, you got it. Come on.
That's the Lincoln Presidential Half Marathon coming up, believe it or not, this Saturday. Wow. This is actually the first year in like a decade I'm not going to be able to do it. I couldn't fit the training into my schedule because the training, it really is a time demand. When you have to spend 2.5, 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon to get that long training run in, with the recent murder mystery I was in, with a whole bunch of other stuff, me working 80 hours a week doesn't really help out either. But yeah, it's I'm running every morning. I ran, for 40 minutes this morning. So I'm doing that. But these long runs, they're gonna have a good time out there. Saturday, it looks like the weather is gonna be partly sunny with a high of 48. Little windy though. We're talking 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That's no fun. So be careful out there. If not even higher winds, 46 miles an hour. Oh, geez. Yeah. Maybe get out there, cheer on those people, make sure that they get some love. The Lincoln Presidential Half Marathon coming up Saturday. Here is more. What's coming up next week?
I just want to remind everyone, too, to please go vote on Tuesday, April 4th.
Or before.
Or before. That, too.
That brings me to a
And maybe
question.
also, we will not be here Tuesday, April 4th.
Right.
Yes, we will not be here Tuesday, April 4th. We'll be here on Wednesday.
So we will have a council roundup for you on Thursday. So just a programming note next week. Meanwhile, last night's city council meeting, the recording was about an hour long. 20 minutes of it, there's a gap. Why is there a gap?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for executive session for pending and probable litigation.
Second.
So there you go. They had an executive session last night for pending and probable litigation. After that, they came out and they adjourned the city council meeting. So that's your council roundup from last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole here on WMAY. Brought to you each and every week by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to Head West. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Subs. All right.